A quiet invitation. If you are settling in now, find a comfortable place. Let your shoulders drop and take a slow, easy breath. You might dim your screen or leave only a small lamp glowing. Allow your eyes to soften. Tonight, we will spend gentle time imagining a different day, a day in medieval life. In a small town or village long ago, we will move slowly, breathing with the story, noticing small sounds and small work. This tale is not about battles or sudden panic. It is about quiet rhythms, youthful differences, and the small surprises that would make a modern person pause and, perhaps, marvel. There is a softness to this thought experiment. Imagine you are stepping into someone else's morning, a morning where expectations and comforts are arranged differently. The voice you hear is calm. The details are gentle. We will talk about food, warmth, smells, work, rules, and company. We will also talk about tiny things you might not expect. How people washed. How houses kept the cold out. How songs helped hands move together. Each small image is meant to be steady and slow, like weaving a cloth. If you find your breathing slowing as you listen, that is perfectly all right. Let the story wrap around you like a blanket. There is no hurry here. When your eyelids feel heavy, you may let them fall. We begin now with one careful step into a world that is close, human, and quietly different. Waking slowly into a different day. Mornings begin differently in this world. The first light arrives at the edge of the roof and travels slowly over beams. People rise with the sun or a little before, but the pace is unhurried. There is often a short moment of quiet appreciation for heat. The small joy of putting bare feet on warmed floorboards, or the soft comfort of a sleeping child in a nearby futon. There is no instant rush to screens or to distant offices. Instead, morning is filled with small, deliberate motion, tending coals in a hearth, drawing water from a jug, sweeping straw from a doorway. If you were here, you might be surprised by how much of life is done in low light. In the soft light of a fire or an oil lamp, your hands would learn to trust touch more than sight. You would learn to listen for the kettle's subtle whisper and the sound of a door sliding tight. There are also social expectations that would feel new. Neighbors might arrive with news, and a loaf of bread, and a small chat by the gate would be a normal way to begin the day. Privacy is different. The house is not a sealed private box, but a shared breathing place. Things that feel ordinary in our world, fast plumbing, instant messages, centrally heated rooms are absent here. You might notice the quiet absence of artificial hums, the natural sounds of chickens, wind in the hedges, or water in the village stream. These sounds become a kind of lullaby, steady and predictable. They mark time slowly, like a clock whose hands move with care. A precious thing to watch. Water would quickly become a small, steady wonder. You might assume it flows endlessly in a tap. Here, it is something to fetch, measure, and respect. A household fetches water from a well, a public pump, or a small channel at the field's edge. Buckets are balanced carefully. The sound of water is a constant companion. The splash when a pail tips, the soft ring of a wooden ladle in a tub, the quiet clink of ceramic as it is filled. Washing is a slow practice. Clothes are laundered by hand in wash tubs or at a river, and kitchens are cleaned with the same deliberate attention. Some people prefer to drink small, weak ale or brewed beverages because boiling water was an easy way to reduce certain risks. Washing the face in the morning or rinsing utensils in cool stream water would feel like small rituals. You might discover the satisfaction that comes from hanging linens to dry on a wind-scoured line and watching them whisper in the breeze. Water governs choices. It influences how often you wash, how clothes are arranged, and how long a bath would take, which might be seldom and special, or frequent and quick, depending on local customs. The scarcity of easy-running water trains hands to be efficient, to use a few bowls of water for several tasks, and to mind each drop. That carefulness becomes a kind of quiet skill, gentle and practical. Clothes, layers, and the sense of texture. Clothing here is tactile and layered. Fabrics are heavier, and garments are often practical. Linen shirts, woolen outer layers, and hand-sewn seams are the norm. You would quickly notice the weight and warmth of a wool cloak when rain or wind arrive. Clothing is made to be mended. A small repair is not a bother but a habit. People fold clothes with care and keep simple sewing kits close at hand. Fast fashion does not exist. Instead, garments age with dignity. A patched elbow or a relined collar tells a story. The feel of cloth against skin is different, sometimes scratchier in a winter. Wool shirt, sometimes soft and well-worn linen. The fit can be looser, shaped by ease and stove warms rather than strict tailoring. You would learn to appreciate the ways a wrap or sash can be adjusted for work or rest. Accessories are functional, leather shoes repaired with care, wooden clogs for muddy seasons, simple hats to keep sun or rain from the face. There is also a quiet aesthetics of utility, natural dyes and faded, blues and earthy browns, small embroidered motifs tucked into hems or seams, symbolic stitches that mean something only to the maker and the wearer, food, bread, and the slow joy of simple meals. Food is steady and seasonal. Bread is a heartbeat of many meals, dense, often coarse, and baked in a communal oven or a household hearth. You might be surprised at how much of the day's rhythm depends on grain, the milling of grain, the proofing of dough, the warmth of the oven hearth as loaves brown slowly. Meals are rarely elaborate in the modern sense. They are local, simple, and designed to nourish steady bodies. Vegetables, legumes, seasonal greens, small preserved fish, and occasional meat are common. Preservation matters. Salt, smoking, drying, and pickling are ways to stretch abundance into leaner months. A bowl of pottage, a thick stew of grain and vegetables, is modest and warm. Food is rarely rushed. The pace of cooking is slow, and the pace of eating often mirrors it. People take time between gestures. Conversation is measured. If you were here, you might notice that flavors are subtle and layered. Herbs and smoked notes add a quiet complexity. Spices that we think of as exotic were once rare and treasured, but most daily fare relies on local taste. The absence of constant refrigeration means that food is respected, nothing is wasted. The ritual of preparing a simple meal would feel like a kind of daily meditation, attention given to mixing, stirring, tasting, and setting bowls in neat order. Work that shapes the body and time. One of the most noticeable differences is the body's relationship to work. Much of daily life here is physically steady. People lift, bend, walk, kneel, and stand for tasks large and small. Hands learn calluses and knowledge. A day's work is measured in repetitive, meaningful motions: threshing grain, carrying water, tending animals, or rowing a cart down a lane. This steady labor sets a different pace of fatigue and rest. Sleep comes deep in the evening because the body has moved well through the daylight. Muscles remember patterns. A modern person unaccustomed to such continuous physicality might feel surprised by where aches appear and by how sleep follows effort without much trouble. Work is also social. Many tasks are done together. Fields are tended in groups. A roof is repaired with neighbors' help. And songs are often woven into repetitive motion to keep time and soothe tired hands. The line between work and conversation is gentle. While hands move, voices trade news and recipes, small stories, and advice. The rhythm of labor is human and communal, steady as a pulse. Cleanliness, smells, and different standards. Smells are different here, in ways that can feel surprising but gentle. Without modern exhaust systems, the house carries the aroma of cooking, smoke from the hearth, damp straw, and livestock. There may also be the scent of tanned leather and drying herbs. These smells are not harsh so much as immediate. They tell you what the household is doing. Hygiene practices differ. Baths are occasional or communal in some places, and people find many ways to stay pleasant without daily immersion. Washing hands before meals, rinsing face and neck, and airing linens in the sun are small habitual comforts. Sometimes people use scented herbs, pre-made sachets, or vinegar-based rinses. The use of soot darkened rafters and smoke is not only practical, but also part of the home's smell. It is a lived, layered scent that becomes familiar. Modern expectations about constant antisepsis are absent. That does not mean houses are dirty in a careless way. Rather, cleanliness takes other forms. Surfaces are wiped, sweeping is regular, and care is taken with food preparation. The idea of what clean looks like is shaped by available tools and time. Adapting to these different standards would take time, and also patience to notice the small rituals that bring comfort. Pests and critters explained softly. Animals are close at hand. Chickens scratch near doorways. Cats nap near the hearth. Sometimes small mice appear in the grain loft, and flies visit in warmth. These creatures are part of the household's life. Their presence can surprise a modern visitor who is used to sealed homes. But there is also a practical and gentle logic to it. Animals help with work, and people learn to live with them without fuss. People manage pests with everyday methods, keeping grain in sealed chests, using natural repellents like herbs and smoke, and keeping dogs to watch at night. Ultimately, the world is simply richer with more small life. The auditory presence of these animals, clucking, soft purring, the occasional rustle of straw, becomes part of the ambient soundscape, easy to fall asleep to, and steady as rain. Medicine, remedies, and gentle care. Medical practice is different and slower. People rely on herbal knowledge, poultices, simple dressings, and a tender care that is sometimes very effective for everyday ailments. Midwives, herbalists, and local wise women often know how to soothe fevers, ease sore throats, and treat cuts with what they have: clean cloth, boiled water, and herbs that dry or cool. There is a modest repertoire of treatments: teas to calm the stomach, poultices to draw out soreness, splints for a sprained limb, and rest prescribed as a remedy in itself. Many of these practices are careful and sensible. They grow from generations of quiet observation and gentle attention. Being tended in bed with warm broth and soft cloths is both practical and nurturing. You would also notice the slow, patient rhythm of convalescence. There are few quick cures, but there is time to be still. Families gather, songs are hummed, and steady hands bring food, water, and comfort. That steady care matters a great deal, and it teaches patience as a kind of medicine. Birth, life, and everyday beginnings. Birth is a common and communal event. Midwives, family, and neighbors may gather with shawls, warm water, and practiced calm. The emphasis is on steady care and comfort, clean linens, heat, and the slow rhythm of supportive voices. Births are often supported at home, surrounded by people who know the household and its needs. The world of children is lively and uncomplicated. Childhood is integrated into work. Small tasks are given early: carrying kindling, sorting grain, weaving straw dolls. Education happens by watching and practicing. Songs teach counting and patience. Story fragments tucked into work teach local ways and small ethics. There is a steadiness to this learning, a patient passing on of skill rather than tests and strict schedules. If you were to settle into this rhythm, you would notice how life moves in loops. New hands learn old songs. Old hands teach new ways. There is a quiet continuity that connects decades, and a comfort in knowing the same small rituals will be there tomorrow. Rules and manners that keep peace. Social roles are different. Courtesy, hierarchy, and local customs shape almost every interaction. Some of these rules are gentle and practical. You remove shoes at a doorway to keep the house clean. You greet elders with a small bow, and you ask permission before taking crops from a garden that is not yours. There are also obligations that are woven into daily life: helping a neighbor repair a roof, contributing to a communal oven, or joining a seasonal work group. These rules help neighbors trust one another. They make it easier to lend a tool or a hand. You would quickly learn the gestures of respect and the phrases that soothe misunderstandings. The social map is detailed, and learning it is like learning new steps in a slow dance. Once you know it, life moves more smoothly. There are also local customs for festivals, weddings, and funerals, small rituals that mark time and bind people together. These moments are quiet but meaningful, sometimes marked with specific foods or songs. They remind you that even in a world without many modern comforts, human warmth is always present. Travel and the slow road. Travel is measured and slow. If you needed to go even a short distance, you would plan for more time. Roads are unpaved and change with the weather. A cart might move slowly with measured creaks. People travel light and stop often. Inns or a neighbor's spare room are places to rest. Food on the road is simple: bread, cheese, perhaps smoked fish, and water that you have boiled when possible. The slowness is not simply inconvenience. It gives you time to notice the landscape, the hedgerows, the way seasons change. A traveler hears more birds, more insect life, and more of the weather's moods. Journeys are woven into stories and songs. People remember roads by landmarks rather than mile markers, a bent tree, a small bridge, a lone hawthorn. Travel becomes a contemplative pace, a series of small rests and small meals. Time, work, and the gentle authority of the day. Time is guided by sun and season more than by the clock. Bells from the church, the farmer's call, and the village's small signals mark the day. People divide their hours into tasks rather than into appointments. There are times for planting, times for harvesting, and times for mending. The annual cycle gives comfort. It lets people arrange their lives around steady expectations. This rhythm shapes mental life. There is less one-day frenzy and more long, slow work. You learn to wait for the right season, to plan long activities with patience. This is not laziness. Instead, it is a different kind of efficiency. People who live with the seasons become experts in small predictions: when the soil will dry, when a route will be ready, when the river will be calm enough to cross. You might find this steadiness restful, even if it seems foreign at first. Markets, haggling, and the joy of small trades. Markets are lively but not rushed. Stalls display bowls of grain, bundles of herbs, pottery, and cloth. Traders and neighbors meet with slow, practiced bargaining. The art of a sale is a gentle negotiation. A few words, a small laugh, an exchange of stories about who grew the best vegetables that season. Markets are more than commerce. They are social time, a place to exchange news and to find a rare spice or a piece of cloth. As a newcomer, you would learn how to read the merchant's face, to measure weight by sound, and to taste small samples. You might notice the way local currency and barter coexist. A neighbor might carry a basket of eggs and trade for a needed spoonful of salt. Markets teach thrift, observation, and a sense of abundance within limits. Law, justice, and community balance. Justice operates at a local scale. Disputes often are resolved by mediators, elders, or small councils. Rules are practical. Boundaries for fields. Fines are work assigned for minor breaches, and oaths to restore peace. Many conflicts are untangled through conversation, small restitution, or public apologies. The goal of local justice is less punishment and more balance, a restoration that keeps neighbors able to help one another. You would find these processes familiar in how they prioritize repair rather than spectacle. There are ways that communities remind each other of mutual obligations, a public statement, a small service to the aggrieved, or a shared meal to renew trust. This system has a slow human logic to it, and it often works because people are invested in ongoing relationships. Weather, shelter, and adapting to the elements. Weather is intimate. Homes are built to respond to the seasons. Thick walls, angled roofs, and layered textiles keep wind and rain at bay. People know how to store dry wood, how to seal windows with cloth, and when to bring animals into shelters for a storm. You would learn the smell of rain on packed earth, and how the sound of wind in thatch warns of a coming change. Adapting to weather is practical and rhythmic. There is a season for thatching roofs, a season for mending boots, a season for oiling leather. Small adjustments, moving work indoors, weaving warmer cloth, or changing bed covers happen in time. The house becomes a living thing that you tend and alter as the weather unfolds. Trade crafts, apprenticeship, and slow mastery. Trades are taught slowly and kindly. A child might begin as an apprentice to a blacksmith, potter, or weaver, learning small tasks and growing into more complex work over years. The learning is steady and embodied, muscle memory, practiced rhythm, and gentle correction. Master craftspeople pass on small secrets, a particular twist of the wrist, the amount of heat that browns clay just so, how to tie a knot that lasts. This long apprenticeship fosters deep calm. You might find it reassuring to practice one craft for years, to see the tiny improvements that appear with patient repetition. The community values that deep, slow knowledge. Skilled hands are honored quietly, not loudly. There is satisfaction in finishing a small object that will be used and loved for years. Learning stories and the slow passing of knowledge. Without bustling media, knowledge passes in quiet ways. Stories are told by the hearth. Songs remember long ago harvests. And small proverbs teach how to mend a net or soothe a fever. Literacy is not universal, but those who can read often become keepers of memory, a ledger, a list of recipes, or a family's small history tucked into a book. Learning is lived, the child who observes, the adult who remembers, the elder who sings. This gentle transmission fosters a sense of belonging. People learn not for tests, but for practical use and for belonging to the village's story. The slow passing of knowledge feels intimate and deliberate. Nothing is rushed, and everything is shaped to be remembered. The gentle reason you might struggle, but also the beauty. After walking these rhythms, you might see why a modern person could find this world difficult at first. There is no instant water, no central heating, no short messages from faraway friends. Tasks are manual and steady, and the social map has fine-grained rules to learn. But alongside these challenges there is calmness, a steadying of pace, an attention to small pleasures, and a closeness to the cycles of nature. If you tried to live here for a day, you might tire in new ways and feel surprise at the small, intimate work. You might miss the conveniences you are used to, yet you would also learn the comfort of a bowl warmed by hands, the satisfaction of mending something that will last, the music of a shared song that keeps a rhythm, and the restful certainties of seasons. The point is gentle, not judgmental. This is simply another way of living, shaped by what people had and what they needed. If you were to stay, you would adapt. You would learn to sleep with the day's labors pulling you toward rest, to value a neighbor's quick kindness, and to find a kind of quiet mastery in slower tasks, a slow farewell and the invitation to sleep. Now, as our slow day in this other time draws to an easy close, imagine yourself settling by a hearth. Feel the day's small impressions, the weight of a wool coat folded on a peg, the thin trail of smoke that makes the rafters pale, the sound of a night bird that calls once and then is still. Think of the bread cooling on a board, and the sound of a neighbor's gentle step on the path outside. Let these small sounds soften the edges of your thoughts. There is comfort in knowing that the Differences would be challenging and also kind in their own ways. Imagine a friendly hand placing a bowl of mild broth near you, a warm cloth for your feet, and a lullaby half sung by someone you have learned to trust. Let the cadence of the work songs and the rhythm of the pounding become a steady chant in the background. If your eyelids feel heavy, allow them to close now. You have walked slowly through a day that is not yours, and in doing so, you have learned about patience, resourcefulness, and the small economies that keep people warm and fed. The world we imagined is full of human care, different from ours but not unkind. As you settle, remember that comfort can be found in many forms, and that steadiness, repetition, and quiet attention are themselves a kind of luxury. Rest now, breathe softly. If you wish, picture the warm glow of a hearth shrinking into the dark as you drift toward sleep. Let the last thought be simple and kind. Someone nearby keeps watch. The embers are safe, and you are welcome to rest. Good night.